Well, here's an uncomfortable truth that most club leaders avoid talking about. Your membership is aging, and waitlists really don't guarantee future stability. In this episode, Kris Butterfield Cance joins me to discuss what might be one of the most delicate topics in club management, which is how to honor your long-term members while strategically positioning your club for the massive demographic shift that is going to happen over the next 5 years. Today, Kris serves as the Director of People and Culture at her club, La Cumbre in Santa Barbara, California. And previously, she had led the membership team at Bethesda Country Club in Washington, D.C. Her recent article in Boardroom Magazine has sparked some really important and interesting conversation across the industry about the member life cycle and, as she would say, more intentional recruitment. So this topic is not about being cold or ruthless. It's not about anything other than the fact that club leaders need to ensure the club's financial health and its relevance for the next generation and even after that, because the greatest act of stewardship is making sure your club thrives long after today's leadership moves on. So here's my conversation with Kris Butterfield Cance. You're listening to Crushing Club Marketing, a podcast for progressive club leaders ready to increase their club's revenue. Time for change begins right now. Well, Kris Butterfield Cance, thank you so much for being with me today again.
It's my pleasure, Ed. Always love chatting with you.
So let me ask you the personal professional question. You go by Kris Cance now, or have you dropped Butterfield completely?
It's hard to drop Butterfield in this realm of the private club world. But yeah, my driver's license, everything is officially just Kris Cance.
Got it. But professionally, on LinkedIn, I think you might be Kris Cance, though, aren't you?
No, it's Butterfield.
Oh, it is. Good.
I can't lose it.
Yeah, Butterfield has a lot of brand equity. It's like, I just like to call you Butterfield sometimes. I mean, it's just easier than, it's not really easier, but it's like, it's you.
It is. And I've always been the best butter in the fridge.
Oh, how do you like that? But boom.
Oh, call me butter. I'm on a roll.
Oh, man. Well, I have had the distinct pleasure of knowing you for several years now. I don't even know how many, but it's been a long time. And I love talking to you all the time. In fact, I was just telling someone this recently that you were one of the first people I talked to at the start of the pandemic. Remember? And you're at Bethesda and I was like, what are you doing? Like, how are you? And you're like, everyone's working together. We're, all trying to take care of the club. And, it was just such a freaky time.
It was that interview was pretty much catapulted the word intentional in the private club industry, because we talked about everything we were doing, about how intentional everything became.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was nuts. But so this is at least your second time on this podcast, if not more, but it seems like we've talked for a long time. So let's jump into this. So you recently wrote a piece in Boardroom Magazine just about, generational transition of clubs, really. I mean, at the heart of what it is. What prompted you to write that piece and why now?
Well, it's a great question. I feel like it's a piece that, unfortunately, it needed to have been written, but leaving the PCMA National Conference in September, it just resonated with me that there's so many membership professionals out there wondering what's next. What are we doing next? So COVID hits and everyone's bombarded with these wait lists. Some are real, some are aspirational, but there's a number of clubs that still have these wait lists, and everyone's in a little bit different of a boat of who's on these wait lists. Are they, prospective? Are they real? Is there a down payment? But also, like, how does that help us in the future? So it just got me thinking, like, we have got at my current club and a number of clubs, I'm listening to everybody in PCMA, there's a lot of just disgruntled members at the club. It's like the 10% that just bombard our inbox. And it's just time to go. The club's not relevant to them anymore. They don't like the change. They don't like the price increases. They don't, they want us to have the blowout, super fancy New Year's Eve party when like that's not a trend anymore. And so I just, upon all these conversations with my colleagues, just what are we going to do about it, and where do we go, and how can we be heard? So I thought I would just take a stab at writing an article, but not just, I didn't want to just introduce the concept. I wanted to help with ideas of what we can do to bring in this next generation, to get movement on the wait lists, to make everybody at the club happy, not just the 80%.
So you're in a unique situation in that you have, for most of your professional career in private clubs, has sat in a membership director role. You're currently now the director of people and culture at La Cumbre, right? Which is
Yep.
more of an internal type of people and culture type of role. So it's a little bit different, but you've had an opportunity to see, transition in many ways. But what do you think it is that you mentioned the big New Year's Eve blowout and things like that younger people don't want? But so when you consider Gen Y, Gen Z, even some younger Gen Xers, what is it that they value the most? I mean, what are the things that they want in a club experience that might be different from what the boomers have traditionally wanted, or yeah.
Well, two things there. One, now being in the people and culture role, I've always said that membership is the keeper of the culture. And so, what I love about this role is that culture extends to our staff. So it's really important that everything is sort of combined. I mean, one bad apple does ruin the bunch. A decade ago, a little bit more than that, I mean, in 2013, clubs were talking about, oh my gosh, we need to do something for women. We need to do women's tennis. And it was all about female programming at the club. 30 years ago, it was all about men golfing. And maybe in 2016, clubs decided, you know what, we should do more than just a Santa brunch for the kids. So here we are now in the end of 2025, and we need to be relevant to all of the generations. So we can't get rid of, all of the New Year's bashes, but we don't have to do it the way that we used to. I mean, why not do like, I know a number of clubs that do like a New Year's Eve at noon kind of countdown for families.
Oh yeah.
But it goes back to the programming. I mean, we spend a lot of time internally at clubs debating about our tradition and how progressive we can be, getting rid of the denim jeans, allowing cell phones, allowing you to use laptops and have Zoom calls. It's really hard to be, or impossible to be, both progressive and traditional. But at the same time, the tradition, like, what is our tradition, right? Is that the culture of the club? Is that our men's member guest golf tournament? So I think each club needs to determine individually what their tradition is and what's important to like their brand, and then moving forward to lure in all of these other generations. It's really just the experience. So creating a club environment where you can come to the club as a family, but you don't have to do everything together as a family. So let's have an awesome Valentine's Day night at the club. Mom and dad are going to go into the dining room and they're going to have a date night, and the kids can go in the family grill and they can make arts and crafts Valentines and have a pizza party. And then you all go home together. Where there's other events where you come to the club like a fall festival and everybody gets to celebrate together. So having the opportunities and the programmings for all of those different types of events, I think, is the best way to attract all of these different generations coming in.
Yeah, like some people that I've talked to in the past have said things like, it's not necessarily an either or, but it's like, how do we do it so that we're satisfying both groups, which can be really tricky. I mean, with resources and things like that, but it really is a matter of looking at what you're doing maybe a little bit differently. When you said the New Year's Eve at noon or whatever, I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. And it actually reminded me of our conversations, at the start of the pandemic, where it was like, hey, how many clubs put the igloos outside, and
Right.
and all those things. There is an element of that, of just like innovating and taking old traditions and looking at it a little bit differently. But is that how can you still honor the legacy members while also, does that work? And are there examples like from people that you've talked to where it's like, hey, they've done this at this historically traditional club and it's worked terrific?
I think if we take a look at the clubs that have experienced these wonderful renovations since COVID, renovating means to be successful, you need to do something for the future and you need to protect the legacy of your club, like you're talking about. So, what some clubs did, my club out in DC, what we did there was we built a card room. So some of these older tenured members, what's most important to them at the club, it's not the blowout New Year's Eve party. They say they want it, but they don't want to spend today's dollar amount on that party. Mm-hmm. But what's really important is the day-to-day for them. So they're retired, they're older, so we built them a card room and they get to go play cards. And at the end of the day, that's what maintains their value and interest in the club, where we can tailor to the families and have that other New Year's Eve party and things like that. So it's what we have been doing isn't wrong. It just might be best to look at it from another lens.
Mm-hmm. It's that, what I'm hearing you say in a way, it's almost like, and this is, maybe it's not what you're saying, but it inspired this thought, which is that I've always felt like clubs are about building community, right? And it's like finding places where you can build community. And if that's in the card room, you're building community there, and that matters, and that holds people together. If it's on the golf course, tennis course, platform tennis, whatever, it's about if it's fire pits outside, right? It's like areas where community can be created. And in some ways, that once a year New Year's Eve party isn't really the thing that's going to build community. It might be a nice way to celebrate with friends and have that, and not to say that it shouldn't be done, but what are the other ways that clubs could consider to invest in that will actually build long-term community in those places?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what lures in your newest member. So being in the membership world for so long, prospective members want to see that list of, oh, hey, Kris, can you send me a list of all of your annual events? Sure. They're looking for Mother's Day, Easter, Santa brunch, all of those, the holidays. They're looking for stuff like that. Maybe the spring fling and the fall festival. But what attracts them and gets them to drop off their application is when we tour the club and they see the kids' room, they see the Adirondack chairs overlooking the 18, they see the cabana at the pool bar, like they see where they're going to fit in and use the club. Oh, wow, these pool bathrooms are really nice. It's not the gross community pool locker room. The little things for the kids, junior golf, having a family golf cart, all of these little things that build the community, they add to the community, because that new member coming in, it is an instant community for them when they join. Sure, they may or may not attend some of the events, but it's the everyday experience that we can provide the members is what keeps them going. And unfortunately, like, to go back to the beginning, it's what some of the tenured members dislike the most, is that all of those small little changes that we're making to clubs.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the almost a bigger why behind this whole thing. There's some financial impact that you talk about, with wait lists and bringing in new members, and in some cases, for a lot of clubs, that initiation fee goes to capital, a capital fund, which is great. But I've been in a lot of circles over this year or last year and a half talking about the generational transfer of wealth, and the greatest generational transfer of wealth that will occur through 2045. So this idea that there are going to be a lot of young people who have money to spend. The boomers are aging out, for better, for worse, for them and their families, and it's certainly. Sometimes we talk about boomers like they're, more just a demographic than actual people. But the idea really is that as boomers age out of clubs, you're going to have this opportunity, and there are wait lists today, but the folks at Club Benchmarking will tell you that we are now at a point where there are more clubs who have a need for members than have wait lists. So there are 45% of clubs that have a wait list today. So that's shrinking from the pandemic. But the point is that there will be a need to fill spots in clubs. And if private clubs don't have amenities or an approach to appeal to them, these people are going to go somewhere else because they don't want to buy into dad or grandpa's traditions just because it was a tradition, because they've got kids that they're raising, right?
Right. Exactly.
So, I mean, it's a real thing. Like, it's a real issue that it's like, it actually goes beyond this thing like, hey, well, we just need to get younger. Well, we do, because for the survival of clubs, for a lot of private clubs, figuring out the transition might be the biggest challenge to take on.
Yeah, when we look at our clubs and look at the legacy that we have in the community and look to see what our true traditions are, I think that's the first step in determining where we want to go and who we want to be. So you had asked me before we connected today, had I seen any clubs be successful in making the transition? And the club I just came from out in Washington, D.C. successfully made that transition. So here I am today
That's
at
Bethesda, just so everyone knows,
Yeah.
Bethesda Country Club, right? No, I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that people know that
Yeah.
that's where it was, so they can, right.
Yeah, check it out. It's an amazing club. So it's similar to when I started there in 2013 to where I am here at La Cumbre Country Club in Santa Barbara. So La Cumbre is known as the family club in Santa Barbara. And this is what's funny about it. We have 3 full locker rooms, tennis and fitness, the pool up at the clubhouse. We have 1 baby changing table at the entire club. And we're known as the family club. So
what do the other clubs look like?
well,
Baby change, what? We don't have that.
so it's us, it's my job, it's our job as leaders at the club to determine where are we going, what is our future. The community out there is screaming like we want to join La Cumbre Country Club. We've got a great pool. We've got a great summer camp, whatever, all these other things that we've got going on. And they want to come here with their families. But if we just tailor a little bit more and take a step back and think a little bit more about what we can do to really tailor to those kids, I know that we will bring in so many more younger families, add a couple baby changing stations, make a children's menu that looks like the club, like a bunch of clubs do that now. A black and white outline of the club, kids can color on it, and all of these little things. And then hopefully throughout time, then the younger families join, and they are the future of the club.
So let's talk. You and I've had this conversation before, and I think that it's right, which is, a lot of these decisions about culture, about the vision and the future happen in the boardroom. And for the most part, I think that it's fair to say that most boards are, consist of members who are older rather than younger. And not to say that boards should all of a sudden be younger, although I'm sure to have some younger people on the board would be a good thing. But it's almost, if you're not going to do that, to have a different perspective as board members as we're approaching these things. But what I'm building to, though, is that I had an interview with Joel Livingood from Interlochen. I know you're familiar with Interlochen and Joel, but one of the things that I loved about that conversation is you talked about mission, vision, values, and how important those are. And so while I think it's easy for us to have a conversation about, getting younger, being more intentional, doing all those things, it really does start with, is there clarity around who you are as a club and who you want to be? And that does need to probably start from the board level. And right, I mean, I'm just kind of throwing this stuff out there, but is that kind of, you've been in the industry a lot longer than I've been, serving the industry. So tell me what's real there and what's not, and what the challenges are.
The challenges are likely bylaws. So there's a lot of bylaws out there that dictate how long you might need to be a member at a club for 10 years before you can run for the board. So who changes the bylaws? Oh, that's a club vote. So now you're asking tenured members to vote on bylaws to help let younger people on the board. I have like 5 different ideas here.
Yeah.
It's
Well, let
really
me just start with this.
no.
Oh, go ahead. You keep. No, you go.
So
I just jumped
you
in.
can
You go.
also, and we did this, I've done this before at clubs, there can be, a non-voting younger member that gets to sit in the boardroom, but they're non-voting. So when a ballot goes around, if there's a vote passed, they don't vote. And that I've done that at a club, and that was really successful. It's also important to have, there's a lot of misconceptions about what goes on in a boardroom. It's not it's not board members sitting around sharing all of the disgruntled members' complaints that they've heard since the last board meeting. But some of the younger members think that that's what happens. And so it's important to just be very transparent and letting like a 40-year-old sit in at a board meeting and learn what they talk about or hear what they talk about and learn about the direction of the club. The best thing that regardless of who is on your board, the best thing for every single club is for the board members to meet new members when they're coming in. Just to sit down and ask these new candidates, why did you select this club? And listen to them. And time again, they're going to say the same thing because that's what's attracted them. And that's what's going to make them, drop the check and then refer their friends to join as well. So if I could tell any club to do anything, not that I'm anyone to do it, but one of the most important things that can happen at any club is for board members to meet new members coming in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, but what I'm hearing you say, it's more than just like a quick meet and greet over like, oh, here are 10, hey, welcome to the club. They go through. I mean, it's like, do you see, especially from your perspective, it being more important for board members to meet those prospective members earlier in the process as opposed to like the final step in the process? Or where would you think that's most valuable?
I don't know that it matters where in the process. I just think, in a good 30 minutes, just a little interview of the new member. Why did you select this club? What attracted you? Where do you live? What do you do? And what's your history? And once the board meets with 50 new people that come in each year, they're going to get the gist of the direction of the club. And again, bringing it all back to what we're talking about, it all happens in the boardroom. So what's the direction of the club? Like, where does the community see us going? These are answers that are easily solved by just listening to the new people coming in. I'm not particular about when it happens in the process, just as long as it does.
I think you're saying mostly from a data gathering perspective, because if every new member comes in and says, hey, we were interested because this seems like such a great family club, because this is such a great family club. Then you go, they're expecting family club. You know, so we better have more than one changing table in our bathrooms, right? Or in our locker room. So that's what, I hear you saying. Let's go back to I want to just double back to that thing about mission, vision, values, because I want to get your take on that. I want to get your take on in maybe how you handled it at Bethesda, or how you're in touch. You're a past president of the PCMA. A million membership directors. You're like Yoda probably by now in the PCMA.
Oh, don't flatter me.
A much more hip Yoda. But anyway, So from what you've seen, how important do you think it is that the club leaders are really clear and that it's communicated clearly about what our values are, what our mission is, and and our core values? Is that something that you value?
I think it's extremely, extremely important. I worked at the Pebble Beach Company for years, and it's ingrained in my head, their company motto, which is the best that there is, exceeding the expectations of every guest every time. And having, adopting some of those corporate things like mission values into the club world is is only going to make us better. I've seen on LinkedIn, I've seen more and more clubs doing it, renovating their employee lounges, employee dining rooms, and putting up the missions and the values and their standards on the wall. The difficulty is buy-in. I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day. And so, there's turnover between board members and staff at the club. And it's drilling it in and bringing it home every day. So hotels can do it easily because they have their 15-minute, lineup every day. And that's difficult to do in the club world. So what I've done here at La Cumbre is I've brought in our mission, values, and standards into our annual review process. So you're now rated on what our values are and how you can perform the standards. So bringing it home, full 360.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I mean, from that, then you have the ability to govern a different way, manage your team, and even manage members. That, I mean, we have heard conversations about, clubs. I mean, we all know, a lot of clubs that have a bunch of rules, but they don't really adhere to them, or there's no one who's right. It's like, we're not supposed to do that, but no one ever says anything, right? It's like at some point you got to tighten up that belt a little bit. Let's talk about transparency, because I think that one of the things that we have seen is in many conversations are, disgruntled members who feel like they can't trust leadership at the club, that they're not telling them everything they need to know. And what I've observed, and I should probably check AI for this, but it's this idea, like generationally, I think that for the young adults who have kind of grown into adulthood through the pandemic, who have that was maybe their first real exposure to government, became very skeptical about how leadership, if you will, operates. And but we're seeing that in private clubs as well. And you talked about transparency. How should clubs exercise more transparency, in your opinion? Like, what are the things that clubs can do just to make sure that members understand that they're being as transparent and open as they can? Because it's a buzzword that can be overplayed too, right?
It's a big buzzword, and the risk is saying too much. Nonprofits have a bad rep for not being transparent. You go decades back, and that's probably why some of our older members don't believe in the leadership of the club, in transparency, that we're hiding things. It all truly starts with the staff, the senior leadership team, with the club president and the general manager being very transparent, honest, and open with the senior leadership team. And it's not that they're not going to go out and have like a megahorn and tell all of the members everything that they know, but it's good to have some of that institutional knowledge in our back pocket. In case things pop up in conversation, we can casually steer a member in the right direction of, it's really not going that way, don't worry. And then team meetings. I mean, like me now being on the people and culture side, a lot of all of this stuff can be prevented if the staff is aware of what's truly going on at our clubs. So making sure that your favorite, the club favorite bartender, if the leadership team doesn't have his ear, but all of the members do, he's going to start going down the wrong path. So making sure that he's aware of what's really happening at the club. There's always the concern of saying too much, of being too open, posting, a lot of clubs, like we do it here, we post all of our committee minutes, and we have a lot of committees at La Cumbre. It's not wrong to do it, but sometimes it just, you find someone who is naturally a little suspect, and it's just giving them a little bit too much wiggle room that I worry about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's always a challenge for any organization is, how to manage what is shared, how it's shared, so yeah, that is one of those things where, I've got in my head, I'm going, how applicable is this? But in our business, our small marketing firm, We share all of our financial results and information. We share, revenue. We share income. So if we have good months, we tell everyone. If we have bad months or quarters, we tell everyone. And there are times, like what I always say to our team is like, I would rather share with you so you know when we're not doing well, so no one's whispering and wondering. Like, I want people to know. Does that mean I tell everyone what Kris is making? No, because that's not really my information to share. But as it relates to some decisions that we're weighing or considering, yeah, we think it's important for people to know that. And I hope and I believe that earns us some level of trust that we are going to share things that might be a little extraordinary, right? And it's trying to figure out, probably for a club, what is that? Like,
Right.
what are the things that you can share that are for the best interest of the club to know, versus things that are like, well, it's not really my information to share, you know?
Yeah, it's tough. So my club, La Cumbre Country Club, is an equity club, and our shareholders, our members, feel like it's their business to know the salary of every employee. In the people and culture role, it's my job to stop that. It's no one's business. It's and any tenured member would always say, their favorite bartender or their favorite so and so, someone who's been at the club a long time, just let them run it. We don't need a general manager.
Well, no, no. I mean, it's like, right. Yeah. Yeah. It's a great idea.
Until it's
Not
not.
so much.
Yeah.
So this is a big thing. I mean, it's hard, and I think it's critical. I think you would agree, and I know obviously in your piece that you wrote that, I mean, this is a big thing for clubs to try to figure out, try to get on top of, for the the long term benefit of the club, and in many cases survival, because
Mm-hmm.
not all clubs have wait lists, not all clubs are commanding big initiation fees, and they're trying to figure out how are we going to just stay in business and stay valuable to our members. So if you were advising a club and someone said to you, hey Kris, you're a professional, like, we're going through this, what do you think we should do, and how do we bridge this gap between these longtime members and the young people? What would you tell them?
I don't know that we need to bridge a gap. I think we need to be relevant to every member that we have in some way. Um, they don't all need to hang out together. But the first thing we need to understand is who's joining our club today. Like I said, the future of the club is your next newest member. So why are they joining? What are they looking for? Let's continue to be progressive and adaptable to what's out there in the world. Here at La Cumbre and Santa Barbara, having like a workspace for members really is not important. At Bethesda in Washington, D.C., that was really important. So looking to see how our members use the club. It doesn't necessarily mean where they're spending money, but how are they using it? When are they coming to the pool? When are they working out? When are they golfing? When are they not golfing? And I've done it before, grouped memberships into buckets. This is probably like a whole nother conversation, but like your 30 to 40-year-olds use the club kind of the same way the 70 to 80-year-olds do. They both come into lunch or dinner early, because the young ones have kids and the old ones go to bed early.
Right.
Those in your depending upon where you are geographically, 50 to 65-year-olds all pretty much use the club the same because they're more established in their careers or they're retired. So they'll close the bar down on any given night. But just really, and golf anytime.
Of course they will. What else you got to do?
But a 40-year-old can't do that because they've got work the next
Right.
day and they're not as established in their career. So just really looking to see, and taking a deep dive at your club, like you said, looking at data before. Yeah, like there's ways out there to look to see when we are relevant to our members. When do they come to us versus going to the restaurant in town? Are they coming to us for New Year's? No. Are they staying home? Like what's happening? So all of the answers are within our walls. We just need to have the courage to take a step to look at it.
Ooh, I like that. I'd like to end on that. However, I'm not going to. I could in an edit, but I want to ask you a question that you can say you choose not to answer if you like. However,
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious. So these clubs that have like wait lists and are doing really well, what do you think they should really just focus on accepting members who are younger as opposed to the 65-year-olds who just retired? It's like, hey, we're going to join a club now. Like if you have a pool of 30 candidates or something, or 20 or 25, whatever it is, should they go, yeah, I know that, old Ed, he's been on that list for a while, but we want to get these people behind him and who have young families.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, my guts, anyone's gut would be like, no, push the old people to the side, let the new ones in, the young ones in. But the reality is you really need to spread it out. You can't have you can't have your pool full of 35-year-olds with families at the same time every day. So one of the reasons Bethesda Country Club is so successful is because their age demographic is a perfect bell curve distribution. So, the majority of their members are in their 50s, and then the next decades, the 40s and 60-year-olds were the exact same number, and then 70-year-olds and 30-year-olds. And so that's how they sort of use the club. So unfortunately, so many of us are tied to these membership caps in our bylaws that are just completely irrelevant. If you have 500 members at your club and they're all 80 years old, they're all using the club at the exact same time, doing the exact same thing. So you just need to disperse it. But more than age, we're dispersing the member usage. So when and what they're doing at the club. So my answer to that is no, we're going to stick in order and take the 65-year-old when we can, because in 20 years when they leave, we'll have to bring in another 35-year-old.
Okay. Thanks for your honest answer on that one. Well, I appreciate your time. I mean, this is, I know you're busy. I know that you've got a full schedule and with a toddler that you're chasing around. So thank you for making time. I know this is an important conversation. I think that trying to help people understand, not just like it's not a preference, right? Like, and I think sometimes legacy members can feel like it's a preference, like they just want younger people. Right. But in really, really many ways, for a lot of clubs, it's about survival and the long-term interests of the club and the club's health, which is huge. So,
yeah, that's what we're here for at the end of the day, survival.
Yeah. You got it.
Well, Ed, I always love chatting with you. I can talk about the club world in my sleep. I live for it.
Well, we'll talk more, I'm sure.
I look forward to it.
All right. Thanks, Kris.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you find episodes like this helpful, be sure to share it and subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're using. Until next time, keep crushing your club marketing.